Stitch here. We're just about to start the Neal Casal interview. I want to let you know we had such a great time doing this, and I was very, very thankful. And we talk about a lot of things from inspiration to his guitars, to his mindset, to traveling, to his career, and all these moves throughout it. So I hope you do enjoy it. I do want to mention that this podcast in particular is brought to you by ZT. There's a little package of tea there. You can't even see it. There it is. ZHI tea company. These, if you're a tea drinker, these teas are excellent. You can go to zhitta.com. Check out the inventory. If you're ever in Texas, you can actually go to their store. Wonderful tea selection and outstanding stuff. I'm kind of addicted to it right now. The second sponsor of this podcast is the Guider Group. And the Guider Group is a digital marketing company that provides help with content and social media and email and blogs and everything for under about $30 a day for any company who's looking to really like boast their business and get it higher and higher and develop it. But the Guider Group, definitely, if you're interested in that, check it out at guidergroup.com. The interview is going to start now. I want to let you know that Neal was in a place where there was some construction, so you're going to hear some bangs and booms and bombs, and then my recording software, the video isn't that great, the audio's fine, but there's some audio glitches, maybe about a total of 17 seconds worth of audio glitches, so I do apologize. But listen, it's about to start now. And at the end of the video, you'll see my face again. I'll talk about some things that Neal left as listening homework. And that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy what follows. Me talking to Neal Casal, just two guys shooting it. And it was a lot of fun. And Neal, if you're watching this, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, me and Neal Casal. Recording. Okay, this is surreal. Hey Neal, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. All right, so I was really planning this for a long time, but now it's happening. Like I said, everything's out the window. So, all right, so you are. How do we even? I mean, like, I don't even know where to start right now. So, people who are watching this know who you are, Neal Casale. They know why I'm connected to you from the video I did of in the
Right.
mind, in your mind, and and then we met up, and the more and more I discovered about you, I was just like, oh my god, and listening to your playing. I really like just really cherish the fact that you would sit down and do this type of thing. So first of all, thank you, and let's get down right to it. Go ahead. Sorry, you were going
I
to say.
know I'm honored to do it. Absolutely. I'm thrilled that you're interested enough to do this. So it's great.
Are you kidding? Well, I gotta tell you right off the bat. You just said something. When I met you at Wani, there you have this aura, this humble, gentle, just aura about you, and it was so refreshing because I've met some musicians and like some of them are douchey, but you are far from that. You were so down to earth and welcoming, and it was just a breath of fresh air. And we're gonna get into that later, but it totally shows in all of your musical abilities, everything, which I think is something that I would want for myself, like my personality to come out on the guitar, and yours does, but we'll get into that. And but my first question for you, and again I have a list, is how old were you when you started playing the guitar?
I was 12, or maybe I had just turned 13, I think, actually.
Oh yeah, same here. Okay, so very cool. And I remember when I first read about you, and I had no idea who you were, and I don't know if I told you this, but when I first read your name, like for the first time ever, I was like, who is this guy? Like, how come I don't know about him? So I researched, and some of your inspirations. Big Rolling Stones fan, is that correct? You were into the Rolling Stones?
Oh yeah, huge. Yeah, a huge Stones fan. They were the reason that I wanted to play music. They inspired everything musically for me, and I don't know. They kind of shaped my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Because yeah, they were their interviews were so easy to find, when I
yeah.
was a kid. I mean, still are, but there was so much. They were so famous. They were so big, and I just bought every book and magazine that I could that had the Stones in it, and I just took their advice because they always talked. They were great in that they spoke so much about the music that they loved.
Yeah, yeah.
Blues and R&B and Chuck Berry and early rock and roll, and then country stuff with Graham Parsons, and
Yes.
and Jamaican music. They were around, you know uh, Peter Tosh and Bob Marley and all these people, they did everything. So I just took their advice, and I discovered really everything initially through them. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was it. They were yeah. I got Exile on Main Street when I was right when I got my first guitar, and that
Yeah.
just that was it for me.
That was a few. Okay, okay. I mean, I totally understand that. Mine wasn't mine wasn't Rolling Stones, but I hope you don't laugh. A lot of people know my whole thing. It was Guns N' Roses for me. When I heard them for the first time, same thing. Obsessed. Bought the albums. I used to stand. A lot of people know this. I don't know if you ever did this, but I used to stand on my bed with a hockey stick, jumping up and down, pretending to play guitar. And then when I finally
Yeah,
got, I was like, yes. When I finally got my first guitar, it's amazing to be inspired. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I know, no, it's cool. I did that too. I mean, I'm guessing that you're like younger than me, so guns were like your Stones, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, if
yeah,
you don't
like
mind me asking, how old are you, or how young are you?
I'm 49,
Okay,
so
I'm 39. Okay, so we're taking
yeah,
Guns N' Roses and Stones.
sure. So those 10 years, that's the difference. But yeah, I played tennis racket guitar to Rolling Stones records in my room too. I did all of those things. And I loved Kiss when I was a little kid.
Yeah, yeah,
But as far as Guns N' Roses, I really liked them too, because when they came out in the late '80s, that was a real breath of fresh air from everything that had been happening, all the metal bands and stuff, and they really at that time were the kind of, it was like a return to roots in a way. That's how it felt then.
yes.
Now it's hard to, you kind of lose that perspective now, but that's the way it felt when they first came out. I actually saw them a few times. I saw them.
Get out.
I have like, yeah, I have like stories about seeing them. I was I was supposed to open for them in my high school band, where I lived in New Jersey, but they didn't
What?
show up. Yeah, I still have the flyer, that the promoter made.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't show up, of course, because they probably just didn't want to play at this little club in New Jersey. But they played the next night at the Ritz, and I went in and saw them, and
Oh, wow.
I was right up against the stage, and
Yeah.
and their record was not a hit yet. That record,
Was it
Appetite for, it
Appetite?
took
Yeah.
it took like a year for it to really, took the better part of a year for it to really take off. So there was a buzz about them, but they weren't. Um,
Oh,
yeah, they had not. Yeah, if you kind of go back and study that record, you'll see it came out in the summer of '87, I think, and it was really like the summer of '88 when
yeah.
Paradise City like took off. So it took a long time. So, and they were still very like, they looked, they weren't rich yet. They
Yeah,
were
yeah,
really
right.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
they were really like the sleazy rockers. And then a few months later, I saw them at a place called the Limelight in New York.
yeah.
Um, it was a secret show, and I had friends that worked for a record label, and they knew about this show. So we went, and I mean, there was not even 100 people there, and
Wow.
the yeah, it was crazy. And Axl got pissed and threw the
Really?
mic down and left the stage, and Slash fell off the stage, and
No way.
yeah, and then like there was this band called Law and Order, which was a New York version of Guns, kind of. And
Law and Order, Guns N'
yeah,
Roses.
and then the singer from Law and Order got on stage, and then he was singing, and then Axl came back, and then he left again,
Oh my
and then Izzy,
God.
yeah, and then Izzy threw his guitar down, and he left, and then it was just Duff, and
Stuff.
it was Duff and Adler and Slash, and they were playing, I don't know, like hardcore tunes and stuff, and then it just all fell apart, and the show was over. So
You must have been like, this is a show. This is a
It-
show.
yeah, it was something, because they were really, that was in like '88. They were poised, like you could tell that something really huge was about to happen. And then the last time I saw them was in that same year, 1988.
Oh my God.
Oh, they were opening for Aerosmith, and it
Oh,
was
nice.
it was in New York State, like in some speedway, and they were opening for Aerosmith that summer. And by that time, it was like critical mass was
Yeah, yeah. About
was,
that.
was upon them, and it was really like, it was kind of a scary show when they played, because I was in the middle of like this crowd rush,
Oh,
where
yeah.
yeah, and I was like lifted off my feet for probably like,
Oh.
20 or 30 feet, like getting moved in
Yeah,
a
yeah,
crowd. Yeah, it was really
Oh.
frightening. It was
That's
frightening.
I believe it, man. So you
But
saw
I never saw them again. That's all. I saw the original lineup, and then I kind of,
you're
after that, I wasn't interested in them anymore. But the
right.
first year was pretty exciting.
Well, you're like, yeah, yeah. I wish you luck. Have a good one. That was a fun ride. So okay. So I gotta explain. Just listening to you talk, and again, this is so fascinating. And I know we booked around an hour 15, whatever. But if it comes to 9 o'clock at night, we're still talking. Feel free to shut me down. But you probably know this. Uh, the three bands that have always influenced me would be Guns N' Roses, the Grateful Dead, and Fish. And on Sirius Radio, they took Jam On, they made it into Fish Radio, and it was really I started listening to it because I wanted to hear. There's a lot of interviews with Trey, who is another one of my favorite guitar players. You were in that ranking, by the way. I'm letting you know, like you're one of my favorite guitar players, and it was so cool because they asked him questions and I realized like, whoa, okay, this guy's been involved with music since he could practically speak, and here I am talking to you, and you're giving me these stories when you're super young and how the Stones influenced you, and you went to go see Guns N' Roses, and so I'm gonna say like, okay, so it's obvious to me now, like, when was it? How old were you when you said music? Like, this is it. I'm going to be doing music. Like, I'm not going to be going to school for this, or this. I want to do music. Was it right when you got your guitar? Was it at 12 years old, 13, 15? Like, was there a moment in your life when you said, I'm going to, full steam ahead, and music it is? Like, where was that in your life?
Um, it was pretty much right away. When I got that guitar and I played it for the first time and learned my first few chords, I knew then. There was a point in high school, like I don't know, maybe for a year or two, where I was sort of depressed and I was a little confused, and I didn't play for a little while. I don't know, I was like kind of lost, but it didn't last long. And then I started playing again, and I joined some, yeah, got another band together, and something clicked, and that was it. So by the time I was like a junior in high school, sophomore or junior, really,
Yeah.
um, that's when I knew, and I never looked back.
Oh,
I knew,
no,
yeah,
that's
I knew
aw-
I wanted to do it.
that's awesome. I mean, like to have the courage to do that, like it's amazing because I had these parents that were like, keep music as like your plan B, and it's like when you hear that as a young person, you go, oh, okay, and I have no regrets in life. I love where I am, but at the same time, it's like if my kids came up to me and said, I want to do music, that parent inside me is gonna be like, well, do you have a plan B? But like, talking to you and talking to all the people who influence, I'm gonna say, just go for it and just go and do your dreams. And so like, because that's awesome that you did it. And I had a question for you, but I forgot what it was. Give me one second. I'm gonna look at it again. Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
just one thing about the plan B. It's like, the person who encouraged me to not have a plan B was my dad.
Oh
He was the
really?
one, yeah, because everyone else, I was advised against doing this, and there's reasons for that. It's a tough life, if you don't really do well. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, having a plan B is definitely, there's something to be said for it.
Yeah.
It's not wrong of people to like, or parents, or people who love you, to kind of caution you against something that might not be good for you, or
Yeah.
because they know how hard it is to get through a life. But my dad, he was from Spain, and I don't know, he just came from a whole other, uh, perspective. Like, he was one of those people that came to New York from Spain as a kid, and it was like an American dream kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said to me, look, if this is what you really want to do, just do it, and don't have a backup plan, because if you do have a backup plan, then you'll use it.
You use
And then
it.
yeah, and then you'll never end up doing what you want to really do. So he was the only, if it weren't for him saying that, I probably wouldn't have done it, because I was so close with him that he said it, and then I believed that I could do it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome to hear. That's great, man. And do you said it. If you don't make it, it's a hard life, and I was in several bands, and it was just a hard life for me because I don't know, just something about the lifestyle. Like to me, it was like Groundhog's Day. Like it was the same conversation over and over again. And I just couldn't take it, and it was very stressful. Now, my question to you is: do you consider yourself? I mean, do you wake up every day and go, man, I'm playing music and I'm on tour and I get to see the world and travel and I love it. I mean, like, does it hit you once in a while, like how like quote unquote lucky you are to be doing this?
Oh, sure. Of course it does. Yeah, I know how fortunate I am. I see people, I mean, people come up to me all the time, and they just, yeah, they wish they could be doing. They admire it,
Yeah.
and I admire their lives. So
Yeah, yeah, of
I
course.
don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to burst the bubble for them.
No, no, of course. Yeah, the grass ain't greener sometimes. I know what you're saying. Like
It's
we all have our pockets.
Yeah, it's not, but at the same time, I've been able to do some amazing things and go to places in the world that I never would have otherwise, and I've made a lot of records and um, just been rewarded in so many great ways. And
Yeah.
music is good for people; it helps people, and to just be some like part of that
That,
process
yeah, of
is,
course.
yeah, it's really nice. So sure, I get it. I know how lucky I've been.
That's great. When I first met you, I explained. Well, you were there, and I explained this to some of the people watching. But I'm just going to recap it because I saw something. There was something that like lit up inside of you, and it was so great. Which was, you were being interviewed by this guy, and then you saw me, and you pointed to me, and you said Saturday's Children, and I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I came up to you, and we talked. And one of the questions I asked you was, you're here. You are playing with the Chris Robinson Brotherhood in the jam band scene, and I was like, and I said to you, you have so many of your own solo records, and you were like, yes, and like you have. And how many do you have? You have 15 or something? Like how many? Eight,
No,
nine,
not
10?
that many. Yeah, 8 or 9 or 10, something like that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so I want to talk to you about that. I mean, you have 8 or 9 independent, solo records, right? And you, so which one of them, in your opinion, like is your proudest? Is there one or two of them that my listeners can say, you know what, I want to listen to Neal's like solo project where he's in charge of everything and he's young and he's discovering everything. Like, in your opinion, what are your favorite solo albums?
Well, the first record that I made, it was called Fade Away Diamond Time. I
Yep.
made it in 1995, and
Mm.
that there was something really beautiful and fresh about that album. The sound of it, some of the songs. It's not a perfect record at all. It's just too mid-tempo, and it's flawed, but there are a few really good songs. Yeah, there's one like song I consider like kind of a great song, and
Okay.
just like the producer that I worked with, this guy Jim Scott, who if you look up his discography, it's just it's
Huge.
astounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like family to me, and we'd been doing demos together for a few years prior to that, and then I got my little record deal, and we made that record in this beautiful house in California, and I had incredible musicians. Bob Glaub on bass and Don Heffington on drums, and Greg
Yeah.
Leese helped us out, and like these
Nice.
A-list people, and just this whole world opened up to me at that time. And like Jim did such a beautiful job with the sound of that album, and all my friends at that time were around, and
Oh, that's
there's
awesome.
there's something like that.
Magical. Yeah. It
Yeah, that was really magical, and just a one-time
yeah.
thing. And this guy John Ginty, who's a great keyboard player who plays with a lot of people, he was my partner then, and that was just like such a magical time that could never be. It only lasted for that amount of time, and then
Yeah, yeah, and then poof.
yeah, and that was it.
Nice.
But that's beautiful for sure. And the last record, the last solo album I made, called Sweet in the Distance,
Yeah, yeah.
is a favorite too. I think it
Oh,
has some of my the best songs I've ever written.
good.
And the guy who produced that, this guy Tom Monahan, is a good friend of mine and such a talented person. And that's kind of when I had first moved back to California. There was personal things happening then too that were really good for me.
Good.
And the record right before that, actually, Roots and Wings,
Yeah.
I think actually is my strongest collection
Nice.
of songs that I've ever put together. There's like 16 tunes on that record, I think, and all of them are pretty good. And I produced
Good.
that album myself, and there was a lot of satisfaction on that one too. So I've made a few good ones.
Yeah, no, I know you have. I listened to them. I put them on a playlist all throughout Spotify. I listened to them for like 2 weeks straight. And one of them, I feel so bad because I forgot the name of it. But what struck me, one of them was really, really, really good. And I like picked up my phone, and what struck me was the album cover was you without a beard. And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Oh, I wouldn't even recognize you, dude." So I thought,
Yeah.
at one point, did you had the beard and you shaved it and it grew back, like for your career, your solo career? Was that what happened?
No, I never did until
Oh,
until like 8 years ago. So
oh,
no, all the
all of them.
Yeah, all the early stuff was beardless.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it was the album cover. Remember, it's like red, blue, and yellow, like almost like psychedelic, like stained glass or something. And
Oh yeah, that record's called No Wish to Reminisce.
there you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
that's a good one too. That I also worked with a great producer on that record named
Uh,
Michael Deming,
well,
who
yeah.
makes microphones and compressors and is a real audio genius. This guy. So, but yes, I didn't have a beard until my 40s.
Okay. Cool. Well, and that was the first one I saw without the beard. So now that, and again, like anyone listening, go listen to the stuff because you can hear yourself as the songwriter there, and it really just this puts me right into the question I wanted to ask you, which was it
Sure.
goes back to the second time you and I met, which was the next night after Wani, where I rudely interrupted you when you were on the phone, and I felt
Oh, it's
so
all right.
you were so nice. You're like, oh, hold on, but I joke with you. If you remember the joke, I was like, "Oh yeah, 3 years from now, when you and I are in a band together," and you just made, and you were all you did was made a comment of you were just like, well, I love working with other musicians. I love collaborating, and to hear you say that, my brain said, okay, where where was it? Where was the moment that you went from the singer songwriter, man who created this stuff to playing more of the lead guitar stuff where did you or someone point out to you yourself someone that said, hey, Neal, your lead guitar playing is outstanding? Like, where was that moment for you? Because that's a curious point of time that I want to hear your perspective on.
Well, during all the years that I was making solo records, I was always playing guitar for other people too, because you know. Because I had to hustle, to make a
Yeah.
living as a musician. And when I was a kid, I never envisioned myself being a singer or anything. I just wanted to be a guitar player when I first started. So that's
Right.
always been it. Um, so I'd always been doing like guitar playing for other people, but it was mostly the solo stuff. But I would say that like really to cut through all the minutia. It's when I got into Ryan Adams' band in
Oh yeah. Okay.
2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd known him for a while. We were friends in passing and stuff because he'd worked with Jim Scott as well, and we had a lot of mutual friends. Just on the scene. And then, I ran into him on the street in New York, and he
Yeah. Makes
he
sense.
said, "Hey, I have this band, the Cardinals, and we lost our guitar player. Do you want to join?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went and kind of tried out, and that really started the I don't know,
Yeah.
my role as like a guitar player more than
More. Okay, so it was with Ryan Adams. That's awesome. When I
yeah.
first, I'm not afraid to admit this. When I first met you, or when I first heard your name, it was literally the first time I heard your name, and I didn't know about your relationship with Ryan Adams. I didn't know about your solo albums. All I knew was that song from Circles, Around the Sun, and
Right.
so. When I did my research, and I was like, "Oh my God, Ryan Adams! And he has all these things, and this guy's lived so much music in his life, and it's incredible." Um, and and I have to tell you, like, you heard me say this, but I want to get this on record. Your lead guitar playing to me, and I don't know, like I said, you seem so humble about it, and I get it because like I'm not trying to promote myself, but I want to see if you understand it. Like when I go to a Grateful Dead concert and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're Stitch! Oh my God, like you're awesome!" and you say, "Well, thank you," and it doesn't go to your head like I am awesome, but you just know that you had an impact, and you give them a handshake, and there's this, well, you see me through your computer, and because I'm on one side, you possibly think that I'm better than I actually am. That's my perspective about when people tell me I am awesome. And
Well, I definitely feel that way. Yeah.
okay, okay, and I got that from you. When I told you you're awesome, you're like, oh well, I don't know, and I want to tell you, like, to your face through the computer. Um, there are lead guitar players who I haven't even thought about how to say this, who like they push it too much, they ham it too much, they play not for the music, but they play for like their lead guitar player spot. And
Hmm.
and I don't like that. You're playing, you are a lead guitar player, but like you're and I hope that I want everyone watching this podcast to listen to you in Ryan Adams and in the Chris Robinson band and Circles Around the Sun. You're your playing is like water through the cracks of music. I mean, you know how to permeate it perfectly, and it's not like, hey, look at me, I'm Neil. What I hear is I'm a musician who's really trying to put my best foot forward in the moments that I need to put it in, and I don't want to be too ahead of it. I don't want to be underneath it. I want to be just right. And you were just right, like 100% of the time. And you know, and
Well,
no,
okay.
no, but I mean, in your ideas, in your inflection, in your attack. I mean, it's there. So I just want to let you know. I really appreciate it for the fact that, like, I don't think you're an egotistical guitar player. I think you actually you
I'm
really
not.
do care.
No.
No, you're not. You care so much about your place in music, and it's so humbling and awesome to listen to. And I will shut up there. Okay, so
Yeah, well, I mean, I where I may be egotistical or unbalanced in other places, I'm not when it comes to guitar playing in bands. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty. My intentions are good there, you know, and it really it comes again. It started with the Stones, you know,
yeah,
and the Grateful Dead as well are actually
yeah,
a factor into that for me. But you know, it what I always heard Keith Richards saying was, you know, he would talk about two guitars and the two guitar relationship in a band and in music,
yeah,
and that the idea was to not, when it was like most successful for him, was when you couldn't tell who was playing what, you know,
yes,
right?
yes,
And that's actually always what I shot for, you know.
primo.
I first of all, I don't have the speed and the dexterity and the ability as a lead player. I never did. You know, I'm not fast. I've never.
Oh, you're fast. It's just you're not. I get it. You're not speed metal fast. I get it.
Not well, yeah, but I can't really pick. You know,
I,
so I
I
rely on a little
okay,
bit,
okay,
but
I'll accept it. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
a little bit, but believe me, if you know, if I stand up next to some
Yeah,
guitar players that are friends of mine, I
yeah,
mean, you know, it shows through really fast. But it's okay because I was always after something else anyway. I was after the weaving of guitars that
yes.
Stones did, and actually the Grateful Dead, they
Oh,
did it as well. I mean, Jerry's absolutely a lead player and, you know, such a unique voice on the guitar, but and their best years, you know, and without Bob's rhythm playing,
yeah,
it was a different thing. So
yeah,
they had that thing as well, and the bass also factored in.
right.
But to me, it's always about becoming one voice, you know, through all of us,
Yes,
not just me. I don't. I've never enjoyed being the only guitar player in a band. I am in Circles Around the Sun,
yeah,
but I have Adam there on keyboards, and we weave together. He's
yes.
like another guitar player to me. So,
Uh,
so that's what changes that. But
This, this
yeah,
is
go
so
ahead.
no, no, this is so funny. I mean, like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, you have to. I'm so glad you're talking about this. My wife Jenny, who you met, like, she loves your guitar playing, and she loves Adam's keys. Like,
Yeah,
loves them. And she asked me a question. She goes, "I need you to ask Neil something." I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Who does he listen to the most on that stage?" And she says, "I bet you it's Adam." And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'll ask because." It seems that you guys have like very similar phrasing, kind of like just
yes,
yeah,
we
and it's
do.
amazing. And you listen to each other, and you guys are so chill. And I know, by the way, tell him happy belated birthday. I saw your post.
Well,
So, but yeah, so you do listen to Adam, and you agree both have like similar phrasing. I'll let you talk on this one because you are the professional in this manner.
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he and I are like similar people in every way, actually, and you know, we both feel the same. Like, we're not shredders. We can't. Our harmonic knowledge is not as deep as other people, so we have to rely on some other skills and I don't know, things in terms of like identity as players
Yeah.
to get us where we want to go. And you know, like in Adam's case, you always know that it's him. You can tell it's him playing a mile away.
Yes.
And there's keyboard players who like are technically better than him, but if you heard them, you might not know that it's them. And I
Yeah.
think that I have a bit of that on guitar as well.
Oh,
So
you
yeah,
definitely do. You definitely do. And I'll say this to you. And I'm debating, and I'll let you make the call, Neil. This is your call. I want to make a video, and I never want to knock anyone's I don't know anybody's anything, but like. I never worship a guitar player for their technical prowess. I love.
I do.
You do, like.
Yes.
No, okay, so wait, okay, so who are you? Okay, hold on. But I love guitar players for their heart and for their musicianship and the note
Well, of
choices.
course, of
You know.
course, of
But
course.
who are some of your technical prowess guitar players?
Oh well, most of the guitar players that that I whose technical prowess I admire also have the heart,
Oh, okay.
and soul as well. So it's not just technique.
Yeah, yeah,
I
no,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I want to say is like, are you worshiping someone's technique or are you actually worshiping the notes? Like when we're all young and you're learning guitar, there are so many people who I get, hey, can you do an in the mind of this person? Can you do an in the mind of this person? And I'm like, this person's just playing a major scale, like, lightning fast. That's all that's happening. That I don't think there's any content to it. But, like, and so I think,
sure.
okay, okay, so content I think is important,
Of
at least to me.
of course. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've been around long enough and heard enough music to know that. And yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, if there's no content, I'm not into it. But it's all debatable. I mean,
it
you
is.
can listen to John McLaughlin, and some people it's not for them.
Right.
They think it's all technique. For me, it's technique and soul and fire and uh,
Yeah,
passionate
yeah.
musicianship and intent and all that. So I love it. I don't know. There's certain people. Yeah, there's modern example. I mean,
Yeah.
you love the Grateful Dead. I mean, like I hear Scott Metzger play, and like, from and
Yeah.
he has this technique, this ability that I admire so much. When I hear him do some of these runs, I'm just like,
Really?
ah.
Yeah.
But there's always such purpose behind how he plays. So it can be fast, but it's not for long. It
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
happens.
It's
It happens
bursts.
in purposeful, intentional bursts. But he's someone who has it's just an ability that I can't play like that. I just don't have it. Or like Jimmy Herring's another guy. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gorgeous guitar player, and he's got all the facility in the world, and I just hear him, and it's
Did,
just something to admire. That's
did
all.
did
But
you get to hang out with him at all, Wani, Jimmy? Weren't you there when he was there? Or
yeah, yeah. Well, when I was in Hardworking Americans,
oh, that's right. That's another band I want to talk to you about. I mean, like you have so much. Okay, continue. Hardworking Americans, go check it out, everyone.
well,
Continue, Neil.
yeah, Dave Schools from Widespread Panic
Yeah,
is in Hardworking Americans.
right.
So I got to be around them a little bit during those years, and I sat in with Panic a couple times, and at Jimmy's request, which is like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, it's pretty daunting when Jimmy Herring asks you to stand next to him and play guitar. So somehow I survived it, but
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
great. Oh,
But hearing people like that is just some people may think, oh, that's just all technique, but it's not.
no,
He's
no.
rolling technique and heart and soul and intent and intelligence into
Yes.
all of his playing. So that's what I look for. People like that have it all. And then
Yeah.
there's other players like Paul Kossoff or something. If you're into free, I mean,
Oh,
he could barely, like, it sounded like every note that he was going for was just this supreme struggle, and he had no speed at all.
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
felt like he could barely play in a weird way, but there was so much in his playing, so much beauty and so much
Interesting.
soul and so much like kind of pain in it, that I would take that almost over
Yeah.
almost
And
anything. I don't care how fast or how knowledgeable someone is. You hear someone like Paul Kossoff, just really, you you couldn't get that. There's no school you could go
yes,
to.
right.
There's no training you could ever, put yourself through to possess that, because that was just him. So
Yeah, yeah.
this stuff comes in all different and infinite ways, and that's why we love it. That's why it's a mystery, because you can't put your finger on it. It's just, and it's all subjective.
Yep, you're
What one
right.
person loves, another person hates, you
Yeah,
know?
you're absolutely right.
Right. So that's it. I mean, you know, you can discuss it forever. It's just completely endless.
You're absolutely right. My friend and I was just up, I saw you in New York. I was in upstate New York, and he was talking about, the 85 15 ratio. You can learn guitar, and that's 85% of everything, technical, but then there's 15% of you, that comes out, and in some cases that 15% overpowers the 85 of the technical and music theory, and and so when him and I like discuss guitar players, we can say, well, that's a strong 15% right there, that comes through everything. So you're absolutely right.
Sure.
Where it comes from. This is gonna be way off subject, but I promised myself I'd ask you this now. So we are recording this, but if you don't want me to say this name, I'll just edit it out. Okay. So does the name Michael Brenzel ring a bell to you?
Mike Brenzel.
Brenzel. I'll read you this comment, and maybe it will, but it makes me smile to hear you talk about Neal. This is when I first did the In the Mind of Neal. As two of my worlds collide, he and I were good friends in elementary school.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So he writes that with a friendship built around an early love of music, decades later you're channeling his guitar style to me, and I couldn't be more pleased to see that he has worked to make his dream happen. So Michael Brenzel wishes you well and was very excited to see you on the channel.
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember actually. Yeah.
That's awesome. My jaw dropped, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. All right, so again, like you're hardworking Americans, Ryan Adams, and now we're gonna get to this part, and I have so much to talk to you about. Really, I mean, there's probably gonna be 10 different podcasts if you let me do it, but I want to talk to you about a circle first. I mean, we're gonna get obviously your main project right now, of course, is the Chris Robinson Brotherhood, which, by the way, was such a fantastic show. And if I can curse, I'd put curses on top of how great that show was. But before we get there, what led here was the circles around the sun concept. Now, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Is that what's? But that album's fantastic. My question to you, and everyone can read how it came about, but I just want to ask you about the night before GD50. The night before, you knew that was going to be played, right? And how, were you nervous? Were you what?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Talk to me about that moment before it all happened. So take it away.
Well, we made that music without seeing the visuals that it accompanied, right?
Right.
Because the visuals weren't finished. Of course, everything with shows, like, it's always last minute.
Right.
So Justin Kreutzmann was working on the visuals right up, I'm sure, until the last minute. So we didn't get to score. We didn't get to make the music to the visuals. So we did it blind, just thinking to ourselves, like, what music would we want to hear if we were going to be at those shows? So we had no idea, and we did it so quickly that we didn't know if it was any good.
Oh my God! Really?
We made so much music. We didn't have time to really review it or work on it or even mix it properly at first. We did later, but we didn't do overdubs. It was all live in the studio.
That was all live? Oh, that was all live.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless you, man. Wow.
Well, except the acoustic version of Mountains of the Moon, but everything else was all live in 2 days in the studio. So
oh my God.
Yeah, that's true. It happened so quickly that the normal process a musician goes through to make a record, was not present. We didn't get to listen back. We didn't get to fix things. We didn't get to mix things. We didn't get to, have any time to even assess it. So we just didn't know. Didn't know if people would hate it, love it, or not care at all. We were kind of hoping in a way that people would just ignore it and, it would just be like background music that never got talked about. And we didn't know how audible it would be in the,
right.
In the stadium, like if it would be just barely, audible, or if it'd be loud. So yeah, I was nervous about it. I didn't think about the fact that it was on the live streams at home, and that had a huge right.
Yes.
That had a big impact, and we weren't really thinking about that. So we were there. Yeah. Adam and I were at Santa Clara when it first came up, and Yeah, it was that first set break was a really beautiful moment, and that's when that rainbow came up over the stage, and
Nice.
it was really something special. It was one of the best moments of my life, honestly.
Oh,
It
that's
was.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome to hear, and I'm glad for you. I mean, that's gotta be magical hearing it, seeing the rainbow, and like being there, and I don't know if you heard people talking about it right away, but like I told you, like the first 4 seconds of that, I was just I like I told you, I was like, what am I listening to? Like what is this? What's happening? And when was the first phone call that you got that you said that somebody said, "Whoa, man, this is going to be huge," like, or this is blowing up? Like, what was that moment?
Yeah, well, what happened was, um, I got separated from all my friends, and I ended up at the very back of the stadium. Somehow, I was helping Betty Cantor to get to her seat, and I don't know. There was some, yeah, there was this ticket mix-up for her, and then I helped her, get to where she was going, and everyone else that I was with kind of rushed up ahead, and I ended up at the very back of the stadium. I was back there. Um, And it was really cool because I was just, I wasn't backstage. I was like out with people there, and I started hearing the music come up, and I just got this really good feeling. And then the rainbow happened, um, and then this guy came up to me, this older guy, and I don't know why he thought that I would know, but he came up to me and said, um, "Hey, you just look like you would know the answer to this question, but can you tell me what this music is that's playing right now?"
Get out! You must have been. That's great. That's
And I
great.
said, "Man, you're not going to believe this, but it's me." And he didn't believe it. It took me quite a while to convince him. So that was really nice. And then I looked at my phone, which I hadn't looked at for a while,
Yeah.
and it was like kind of, you know, lining up with texts like, "We know this is you. What is this?" Because we didn't tell anybody ahead
Yeah.
of time. There was no name for the band. This stuff was never supposed to be released. It was never supposed to be anything but just for those shows. Um, and the rest of that day just unfolded
That's amazing.
in the greatest way. And like I said, yeah, it's one of the best days of my whole life, actually. It was a really proud thing to be a part of, and Adam was there, and we got to share it, and all of our friends, and
That's
yeah, it was exciting.
that really like warms my heart. It's so nice to hear because that day. I think it's just really nice that that day was a magical day for you, and it was one of the best of your life because it
It was.
I want you again, like, you didn't know this at the time, which is so weird. And you can't rewind, but I didn't start my YouTube channel until 2017. That song had been in my head ever since. Well, I mean, that album, but Savage Children was in my head from the first day I heard it until the day I made your video. And it lived with me, and it actually, me trying to figure out what you did on that was a huge portion of me doing Stitch method, like being able
Oh,
to analyze things. But besides
thanks.
that, so to add to your magical day, you influenced somebody's entire life. Like, here I am on YouTube teaching
Thanks.
guitar, and you didn't know that. So and it's important. It's in part to you. And before we get moving along, the rumor in the mill just came out is you have a second album, Circles Around the Sun, coming out.
Oh, we do. Yeah, it's coming out on August 17th. It's called Let It Wander. We just went back into the same studio where we recorded the first one.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's, without the Grateful Dead themes that we had to,
Yeah.
anchor
I mean,
to the first time. Yeah, we just set ourselves free again and just played a bunch of music in the same place. And we spend a little more time on the sounds, and we did some
good.
overdubs, and there's less music, but we did it again. I think it's actually stronger than the first stuff in many ways.
Right.
But the sound of the band is still very much, what it was then. And yeah, we're doing it. We just decided to keep going.
All right. Now, is there any one song by title that you would want me to do an In the Mind of Neal Casal for that you think like? Because I'll do it, but I'll listen to the whole thing anyway. Was there anything you're really proud of in that you're like, go ahead, sorry.
Sure. Yeah, there's a song called One for Chuck on there.
Okay.
And Chuck D actually does a little intro for the song.
Get
If you,
out.
yeah, if you can believe that.
I do. That's great.
Well, yeah, he lives in the same town where I do, and where the studio is. And he stopped by one night. I'd never met him, but he stopped by while we were recording, and he said, "Man, you guys are real musicians. This kind of thing can't be replaced. This is cool." And after he left, we cooked up this idea that maybe he could do a little toast on our tune, and he came back and did it very graciously. So,
Oh,
and it seems like an odd pairing, but it actually works really well. And so that's a song that I would focus on.
that's cool. That's cool. I definitely check it out. I'm very, very, very excited. Okay, so I feel like it's such a broken train of thought, but I have all these questions that I 3 weeks ago. Okay, remind myself to ask Neil this and this. What is the brand of your guitar? What kind of guitar is that you are playing? That is awesome.
Sure. It's a guy named Scott Walker
Scott
who
Walker.
lives.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Santa Cruz, or works in Santa Cruz, California, and makes. He's just the most incredible luthier around. Just a beautiful craftsman, nicest guy. Works so hard on his instruments. I can't say enough about the quality of that guitar. I mean, I'm in my 5th year playing that thing, and it's just coming into its own now. It's a beautiful instrument, and he made it for me. And
Is it heavy? It looks like a. Is it a heavy guitar or is it light? Maybe.
no, it's
Okay.
not that bad. Maybe
Cool.
heavier than your average Strat or something, but it's not like
It's not. It's not,
yeah.
it's not, it's not like a solid Les Paul, right? It's not like a.
No, no,
Okay.
no, it's not. No, it isn't. No,
Oh,
it's very comfortable to play, and it sounds great, and it's got all the coil tapping stuff, and it has the onboard effects loop, and it has a booster and a buffer and all these different sounds that you can get. It was very influenced by Jerry's guitar, which I
yeah,
got to I came to learn about through being around some of those
yeah,
people like Phil and Kid Candelario. And
yeah. And
uh,
you played the Wolf. Did you play the what of Jerry's guitar did you play?
I
Like
I played the Wolf a few
like
times, and
amazing.
I also last year, well, yeah, I also got to play both of his Travis Beans.
Oh,
So
what?
that was cool.
That's awesome. I actually right. I saw a comment. I'm just letting you know something. Like, I know, like we've known each other for a total of like I don't know, 22 minutes. But on a video when you're playing it, you talked about playing it, and you said like, I know I'm not worthy, and I was like, Neil, shut up. You're totally worthy to play that guitar. Do you remember saying? Because like I from our conversations that we just had, like. You have such a tremendous heart that comes out on that instrument, and everyone loved Jerry for that. So like, you're worthy to play the instrument. Just to let you know, totally are.
Well, thanks, but I mean, when you're really standing there with that guitar in your hands, it's a pretty daunting thing.
Yeah.
And I just remember the first time that I played it, and like, there were pictures online, and there were comments of people like, get your hands off that thing. You have no right to play that. And I'm like, look, man, I agree, okay, but I didn't ask to play it. Someone brought it to me. So if someone had brought the guitar to you, you would try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
Like,
Yeah, people.
I'm not trying to, do Jerry Garcia's memory any disservice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
It's so funny how people can instantly start like hating when they're behind a TV, a computer, like But I think that you're totally, totally worthwhile of that.
Okay.
All right, so now I want to get to, all right, CRB, the Chris Robinson Brotherhood. What year did that start?
2011.
Okay, 2011. Okay, so I need to ask you this question because I listened to all the albums, but as I sit here, like I don't have my notes. Um, was it the first two albums? What I'm trying to say is it's on one. It's either the second or third album where your sound completely changed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I want to talk about that, why it happened, where it came from, because I remember the first album like raw, awesome, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's Neil's sound. Like there it is. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, when the band started, I had never played. It's really due to Phil, being around Phil Lesh, honestly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. When I first came into the band, I was playing an SG through a Fender Super, and I'd always been like a traditional guitar player. I'd have like a Strat or a Tele, and
Yeah.
and the SG I really leaned on for years. And then it was so that was in 2011. In 2012, I started playing with Phil a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Terrapin Crossroads had just opened, and they they had so much music going on and they needed people to play. And I was lucky enough to, Adam too,
Yeah.
um, to be kind of enlisted into, these bands with Phil. And that's where I started studying the Grateful Dead catalog. I started learning about, um, how brilliant those people were with equipment and sounds and guitars and
Yeah.
innovating. And I played Wolf, and I learned about the onboard
Effect loop. Yeah.
effects loop. Yeah, and then I met Scott Walker, and
Oh wow.
and he changed my life. And then I ordered one of his, excuse me, I ordered one of his guitars, and I just made a leap basically through
Yeah.
playing with Phil, being thrown into the fire of having to learn the Grateful Dead catalog. I was playing with all these, I sat in with Further,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
being around Russo and, even like, I mean, all these people, John Kadlicek, who was in Further and had all the sounds down and knew about the equipment. I would talk to him about stuff. And I just went through this big learning curve, that I had never, approached before. And it changed my playing, it changed my sound, and I got really into it. And like, over a certain amount of time, I emerged as kind of a different player.
Oh, it's awesome. Now, that's great to hear. So, I mean, like, it sounds like a lot went into that. When you presented your new sound to the Brotherhood, was it like at one day, like, hey guys, or is it like a one day you had this
No.
pedal, next day like this, and it kind of just morphed into your sound? Or
Well, this Chris Robinson Brotherhood was always founded on Grateful Dead principles anyway,
oh,
and Chris was always pushing that from the beginning. I mean, he'd been in Phil and Friends, in like 2004 and 5, and he's a huge Deadhead, and it actually pushed me in that direction.
oh,
So,
very
yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah, no, that was what it was all about for this group. So,
That's awesome.
and it all just kind of happened slowly. It wasn't like one day I just came in and said, "This is what I am." It was just little by little over the months and years, things
Yeah.
started, change slowly. Yeah, it's just like kind of a metamorphosis.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool to hear. I have a personal student who I FaceTime with in New York. His name's Dave. He's gonna be so excited to mention his name. He had a question for you, which was, how much do you still practice, and how much does the Chris Robinson Brotherhood practice? And there's the
Oh,
question.
I play all the time. You have to play all the time. There's yeah, it's just always. I mean, we're always writing and always playing.
Yeah,
It's not even practicing. It's just sort of just
playing.
being it. Yeah, it's just being what you do. And the CRB, we're on the road so much, we
Much,
haven't
yeah.
rehearsed a lot, but we do long sound checks, and we're always learning songs and writing.
Good.
And we just made another record. So
Nice.
if you're doing this, you're doing it. Really, there's not many breaks to take. Really.
Do you find yourself going back to listen to the Stones when you're on the road, like
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do. Okay, you do. That's awesome.
Yeah, that music is just, it never gets old to me. It's aged so well. It will continue to age well. There's so much, you talk about substance. I mean, there's so much substance in the best of their music. It's just incredible, really. I don't think it'll ever,
Go away.
it'll never wear out. I mean, it's lost its relevance. People, I don't know if young people like it, or taste change. It's really just, it's old. It's very old music now, which is,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's, I felt that way about my dad's big band music, and now people think of the Rolling, songs like that as,
Well, yeah. As old.
Yeah, and it is old. It's 50 years old, but damn, there's still a lot in it for me.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I listen to albums that are 20 years old, and I'm like, no, what are you talking about? This is like 3 weeks old, like. But then I show it to someone, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's getting older. But I know how timeless it is inside of you. Now I want to keep this close to an hour. I don't want to waste your time. And again, by the way, thank you so much. I know you're busy and you're on tour and like life.
It's okay.
Yeah, no,
It's my pleasure.
that's
It's really
awesome.
my pleasure.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what is, you don't have to get too specific, but what is the daily routine of Neal? Like, the wake up time, what time do you go to sleep? Like, what is that day like on the road?
I don't know. You just get up and I have my English breakfast tea, a little yogurt and granola,
Yeah.
and I'm good to go. And
Oh, good.
I don't know. Yeah, we just kind of all mill around these cities where we are. I buy a lot of records. I mean,
Oh, that's
not so
cool.
much, not so much lately, but for years in the CRB, man, we would hit every record store. For a few years, man, our bus looked like a small record shop. We would just load it with vinyl, and it's where we got our inspiration for this band and songs. And so record shopping was a big thing, and
Cool.
playing guitar, practicing, getting ready for the day.
Now, you've done several tours. Are you always in the same bus? I noticed that's a Prevost, right? Is that like your bus? Or do you rent one every year, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, we don't own the bus.
Okay.
We work with bus companies,
Hmm.
so you kind of rent a bus and a driver, and
Okay. And so,
you try to, yeah, if there's a particular driver you like,
oh,
you try to stick with them, and we do that.
oh, cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, my wife, 'cause we want to get an RV and tour, and I want to, teach guitar lessons on the road, and she wants to get a Prevost. And when she saw you got a Prevost bus, she's like, "You got to ask them how much if they like it." I'm like, "I will. I'll ask them if they like it." So
Hey,
yeah,
I toured in vans for a really long time. It's nice to be on a bus, let me
yeah,
tell you.
it is. The only time I was on a tour bus was with the band Cheval. It was in
Uh,
Northampton. They invited us in. I was so excited. I ran out to go tell actually my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I was like, I wanted to be like, I was just on their bus and I slipped and I landed my back and cut my entire back open 5 minutes before a gig. And so they had to bandage me up, and I was playing with this bleeding back anyway. So that's how excited
oh,
I was
that's
to be on a tour bus.
terrible.
All right, so a couple of last questions, and any rituals that you do before you get before you get on stage? Is there anything that you do just like to I'm going on stage? I used to tie my shoes really tight. That was my thing. Do you do anything like that?
I usually take my shoes off.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I don't know, just practicing, trying to keep your hands limber, and maybe take a little moment of meditation or something,
Oh,
and
nice.
try to get centered for the night, and just remember why you're there, which is to play for people who love you, and love
Yeah, yeah.
music, and want to have that, those couple hours of release. So sometimes you could maybe have a bad sound check, or a room doesn't sound so good, or whatever your problem is. You have to remember that people are paying to come and see you, and you have to try your best to
Best.
just remember the purpose of music, and what the ritual of going to see music is
Yeah.
for.
Awesome. That's great. To remind yourself of that. I'm gonna end with this. We talked about this, but like your slide playing, your slide guitar playing that night when I saw you in Long Island. Like, okay, so I'm just gonna talk about the technical aspect of slide playing now. I don't really play a lot of slide. I have slides here, but the reason I don't play slide a lot, I'm trying to find my slides, is because I find that I always have my guitar in standard tuning. And there you were. You had your guitar in standard tuning, and you picked up your slide, and all you could hear was how perfect your attack was. I'm being serious. It's hard to play slide in open tuning and not hit the other strings, and and,
Yeah,
and to keep them muted. And not
yeah,
only that, I saw your right hand was on those strings. It was
yeah,
perfect, but your melodies were amazing, and they were perfectly placed. Like Van Gogh was painting them in real time. It was awesome. And no, it's truth. And when I asked you, you said that you think of Mick Taylor when you do slides. So then go ahead. I mean, like you really when you close your eyes, are you pretending to be Mick, or like are you just letting him influence and speak through you?
well, I just loved, he was like, yeah, he just had his slide playing had such a huge impact on me um, when I started playing,
Yeah.
that it just stuck. And yeah, his slide playing was just gorgeous if you really dig into those Stones records and the John Mayall records. And he just had such a beautiful touch, attack, control over the strings, so clean.
Yeah.
Yet there was so much fire there. But other people too. David Lindley was a big deal for me on slide.
Okay.
Um, Ry Cooder, I mean, who's like a whole other podcast by himself. His slide playing I think of that all the time as well. Um, and there's blues players too. There's a guy named Robert Nighthawk who
Okay.
I think I've never met Mick Taylor, but I'd bet money that he listened to a lot of Robert Nighthawk, and people like Earl Hooker, and there was certain slide players like, pre rock and roll, like real
Yeah, yeah.
blues people, that yeah, Robert Nighthawk's a big deal. The very exaggerated and slow vibrato, that's a big thing
Yes.
for me. And so, yeah, those are the people that I keep in mind. There's a certain elegance about that kind of slide playing that's important to me, and the control is important. But it still has to rip,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and it does. So I'm going to ask you this question again. I'm watching our time, and yeah, okay. So when I play guitar now, I mean, I just played live. Oh my god, for the first time, honestly, in 10 years at my friend's wedding, we played Blue Sky by Allman Brothers, and it was so much fun. And it was like, oh my god, I'm playing live again. I'm not just teaching; I'm playing live again. And what was amazing to me is I think I want to see what your take is. Like when I'm playing guitar, I equate sounds and my ideas to your left this to certain tastes. Like I use my taste buds for music when I
That's
am.
nice. Whoa.
Well, if I want some tension, like I always say on my videos, like A1 steak sauce, and like all these like flavors, and so I find myself when I'm playing, I'm like always like mentally cooking my solos in real time, and that's my approach to it. And so I just like when you're soloing, I just want to know like what's in your headspace, like where motivation wise, or just like feeling like, well, how do you approach your solos?
Um, it's usually trying to like keep calm,
Oh,
well, meaning like, mm, it's just trying to stay centered and actually kind of stay not, uh, yeah, stay centered and slow, and not to race ahead. There's a tendency sometimes for, you
yep.
have all these ideas and you want to do it right and you want to say the right thing, and there's all these things going through your head, and it's all happening like, instantaneously. So it's like, um, it's this, I don't know, it's this process of like trying to slow down or something in my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
head. I'm like,
Like,
just relax, stay with it. Like, don't try to say too much. This isn't what you think. It's not as intense as you know. So it's hard to say, but yeah, just trying to breathe and kind of stay in there and be melodic, and remember, and just keep listening to everything else that's going on around you, and
oh,
stay present and play the right thing.
oh, that's cool. That's great. Before we did this interview, I went live for like 5 minutes on my YouTube channel. I said, hey, I'm going to do the interview with Neal. Any questions? And most of the questions that came in was, what's your advice on improvising? And you just you just
That's it.
answered. Yeah, yeah. Just stay
Yeah.
calm, like stay calm, and realize that. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of like, okay, it's my turn to solo. Let's rip, and it's like, oh God, no, you got to be reserved
Yeah.
and move someplace. All right, so we're gonna wind things down, and I'm just gonna go. I'm looking through my questions here, but I think we got to how much practice time we got this. Circles. Yeah, I mean, we got everything. My last question was the slide guitar. Neal, first I know it's not a big deal, but like again, it's a big deal to me. The
Oh,
best.
it is to me too, man. It is to me too. Believe me, it is.
Well, it's awesome, and I'm gonna post this soon. I'm gonna let people ask questions and stuff in the comments. In the future, if we get to do this again, it'd be awesome. I'm definitely gonna listen to your new Circles album, and I'm gonna and also remind everyone, go see you right now with Chris Robinson Brotherhood. Again, like this made my day. 2015, when I heard you for the first time, and now I'm speaking to you in person. This is one of the best days of my life as well. Like, and I'm glad, and I want
Thanks.
to let you know, and you really are a part of it. And now I'm gonna go and be all smiley, and now I gotta go actually fix my pool. But anyway, besides that, I
Hey,
want.
you have a pool to fix. That's fantastic.
Oh, that's what I want to say. I'm so glad you said it. Listen, you guys came to Florida, almost came to Florida one time, and then there was a hurricane, and you had to cancel the
Yeah.
show. You tell your tour manager, hey, you got a friend who has a pool in Sarasota. We should go play in Tampa, and I'll come see you there. But don't be afraid of Tampa. I'm not saying you are, but like, in the wintertime. It's really nice down here. You know, you should come down.
I'm not afraid. I have family in Fort Myers, so I've spent time down there.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, if you're
Yeah.
ever in Sarasota and you want to take a dip in a pool that needs a new sand filter, let me know. Listen, Neal, thank you so much. Tell the rest of the band we all say hello and thank you for your time. And hopefully we'll stay in touch, and I hope your future is as bright as ever. Okay, man?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. First, I'm going to hang up and record. All right. Sorry. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, Neal, thank you so much. Before I did this podcast, I went on my YouTube channel very briefly and I said, hey, I'm doing an interview, and some questions came in. And so I got to ask Neal some questions by text, and I'm going to put those texts up at the end of the screen, just the picture, so you can see him kind of texting his way through it. He left a lot of inspirational videos that were to him, like videos that inspired him, which I will link below, and so you can kind of see his little conversation. It's short, but just things that he wanted to mention during the interview might have forgotten, also answering some questions. And so again, I hope you enjoyed it. What follows is just a little like screenshot of my phone, like 5 or 6 photos of just things that he wanted to share with all of you about his journey through music and what was inspirational. So go check these videos out. They'll be linked below. And I'd like to thank my last sponsor, which is J Turner Films, JTURNER Films.com. They do wedding events, editing. They can do it anywhere around the world pretty much. So if you need some videography done, please check out J Turner Films. They do a great job. They didn't do this video. This is me and my computer, so don't judge. But J Turner, I know Josh personally, and he does a wonderful job. So again, if you ever need some videography, please check out J Turner Films. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry about all the audio glitches and everything, but this was a peek in the Stich method, and I'm glad to share it with you. And again, Neal, if you're still watching this, thank you so much. Can't wait to have you in Florida. Probably I'll go to the show. I'll be right in the front row. All right, take it easy. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye.